Give me 3 margarita.
I
Give me 5 margaritas.
Honestly,
Give me 5 margarita. La 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 la. 1 margarita. I'm a da da da. 2 margarita. La 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 la. 3 margarita.
I cannot even handle the energy at the moment. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Get
All
ready
right.
for subject matter, because if you think that was fun, just you wait.
You're listening to Enhance, the podcast dedicated to highlighting real stories told by real people.
Hey, Enhance listeners, this is Gabby, your magical host of the evening or daytime or whatever time you're listening at. And joining me today are two of my besties for the resties, Megan and Natalie. Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
And so just before we dive into the topic today, y'all know how it goes. I'm going to ask a little icebreaker question just to kind of get in the mood. But if you guys noticed, Natalie's been on a prior episode. She did the topic of nursing in season 1, so she is back with us. And then Megan is one of our besties for the resties, and she just moved back to St. Louis. So we're so excited to have her back and around and about. So yeah, how's your lives, guys?
Oh, just doing well, living the dream, as they say.
We love that. We love that. Smiling. We love it. Okay, so question of the day. What is one food that you cannot live without?
Give me 1 margarita. Oh, no.
Okay,
It's
I have
hard.
a clarifying question.
Yes.
Can it be like an ingredient, or it has to be like a dish?
Ooh, honestly, either one. I would be down for either.
I'm gonna say cheese.
Yeah, I was about to say mine is cheese, and if it had to be like one, it'd be queso. Like one bowl of queso. Yeah, Mexican restaurants are my muse.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I would have to agree with that. Any kind of cheese. I mean, truly, it makes the dish. Did you know that they say the receptors in your brain, like when you eat cheese, is like your brain goes off like you were having a drug in your system when you eat cheese.
and that's on nursing.
And that is Dr. Natalie, and she's amazing.
Period.
And that's why we have her in our lives, amongst other reasons.
Period. Literally,
It checks out though, because I'm never sad when I'm eating cheese.
Correct. It's true. It like sets off the same like receptors in your brain as like having a drug in your system.
That's amazing.
Very interesting. I feel bad for the vegans.
I mean, honestly, they're taking an L on that one.
Y'all are missing out. Cashew cheese is not the same.
Cashew cheese. You know, I always giggle at the different like things in like veganism. Like they try to make the same, and I'm like, no, it just isn't it.
No.
I mean, big respect to y'all. Honestly,
right?
Truly,
yeah,
right.
Truly, big respect.
Couldn't be
y'all.
me.
Couldn't be
Props to y'all though.
Nope. I like my prime rib steak. Thank you.
I like my Gouda cheese
and my eggs. Not my powdered eggs. My real eggs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Respect though. Respect.
Put respect on the name.
Respect.
Jesus Christ. Anyway. And that's on period. Queso's the winner across the board. But leave a little comment in the comments if you think otherwise. I would love to hear your answers so I can change my mind. So today we're talking about a little bit more of a serious topic. It is kind of taboo in a sense, just because it is such a like rarity that happens. So we're talking about grieving a friend that has died at a young age. As you guys know, like me and Sam have discussed, like we are in our 20s. Natalie and Meg are also, you know, in their 20s. So losing a friend at this age is kind of like, whoa, you know, a little intense, a little something, something. So we have two friends that we're going to be addressing today. We have Cammie, which was Natalie's friend in college, bestie in college. And then all three of us have a mutual friend, Andrew, who was our bestie just throughout life. Megan knew him longer than me and Nat, but we're all besties for the resties, and we love them so dearly, and we're, just wanting to talk about them and kind of share their stories and our experiences on how we dealt with that. So first, like for me, I dealt with it very poorly. I know for me, the day that I found out, actually Natalie and Meg found out first. So I'm going to let you guys take it away and kind of give us a 411 on that first call when you guys heard the news about Andrew and about Cammie.
Natalie, you go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see, Andrew. So we got a text message earlier in the day in our big friend group chat that said, has anyone heard from Andrew? I forget, I think Colton might have sent it, right?
I think it was either Colton or Sarah.
Colton or it was somebody, one of the people in our friend group that doesn't, you have those people in the friend group that don't normally text in the friend group, but they read all the messages, right? And so it was a text message from one of those friends that like reads all the messages but doesn't normally send a message. So we knew that like when this person was texting, like it probably meant something serious. So I really do think it was Colton said, hey, has anybody heard from Andrew today? And then we all kind of, jumped on that. No, whatever. And so then they said that somebody in like the parents had reached out, right, and said that that Andrew had not been answering phone calls and texts and things like that. And so, but he was supposed to go to a walk in the morning, and he did not show up. So I will kind of let Meg go more into detail with that, but I actually received a call from Colton. I remember exactly where I was. I was about to go to Trader Joe's to go grocery shopping. I know the exact road I was on. I had just pulled into the parking lot. I was about to park my car, and Colton called me and said, he said, Andrew, he's gone. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, he's gone. Like, did he drive away? Like, did he go to a different state? Like, what?
Yeah, did he get on a plane?
Yeah,
like, where is he?
Yeah, he was just like, he's gone. I'm like, what does that mean? And he's like, he is dead. And I was like, what? And he was like, I'm getting a bunch of phone calls right now. I have to call you back. And like hung up on me. And so like in that, obviously I wasn't going into Trader Joe's at that moment. Like I'm not going to Trader Joe's. So I'm like, okay, what do I do with this information? Like, oh my God, like, yeah, like nothing can prepare you to receive any phone call. The way that I heard about Cammie was also a phone call. Nothing can prepare you to hear that type of phone call and to hear your friends say those exact words. Like everything, the whole world stops. Truly, the whole world stops. And so immediately after that, because all of us were on edge. We were like, where's Andrew? Where's Andrew? I called Gabby and I was like, Gabby, are you sitting down? And she said yes. And I said,
God. I just literally, because like that call right there. Okay, first off, rewind a little bit, because my morning, I was actually getting ready to record an episode of Enhance. So I was sitting here pretty much, and I actually was in the other room right there, sitting literally facing this way. And in the beginning, like I was supposed to record an episode with Kira and Sam, and we were going to do like, it was going to be the first one where we did 3 people. It was going to be fun. And I kept getting these tenders, and my coping mechanism is making humor, whether it be dark humor, funny humor. I don't cope well with like serious stuff. That's why I always laugh and I get awkward. Because I was like, guys, like, what if he goes missing? Like, that's so scary. But like, I was fully like joking. Like I knew in my heart something was fully wrong, but like I couldn't put into words like I'm actually really sad and scared because I don't like being vulnerable either. And then Natalie called me and she was like, "Are you sitting down?" And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, immediately the tears
That's
started.
the
I just had to
worst
say that.
thing in the
knew.
world.
I
Yeah.
literally heard
Is
that
are
and
you
I
sitting
was
down?
like, I literally was like, I already know. Like, I even knew in the morning that he was like dead. Like, in my heart, I knew something was not right.
Yeah.
And I knew that that's what it was. I just didn't want to like admit it to myself. And like, obviously, like, I'm also a girly that likes to spiral and say like the worst thing that happens is what happens.
Yeah.
So like, I'm like, oh, he's dead. And I didn't even put 2 cents in it because I was like, no, Gabby, you're probably overthinking this.
Right.
Like, and then Natalie's like, are you sitting down? And I'm like, he's dead, isn't like, I think I literally said that too. I was like, I said no.
Yeah, you
I was
said
like,
no, and I said, Gabby, he passed away last night.
stop.
And then I was like,
triggered.
I'm on my way to your house. Stay there.
And I said, great, see you soon. And then I called Kira and I was like, and I'm sobbing like at this point, like uncontrollably. I was like, I can't do the episode. My friend just died. Bye. I didn't even let them say bye. I love you. Nothing. I was just like, bye. Like they just kind of automatically were like, okay, like she's not going to record today. And that's totally fine. And that's what I love about Sam and Enhance as a group is like very understanding. Like my core job, you know, working in fundraising, like very understanding in that moment specifically. Cause I mean, the next thing I know, Natalie's at my house.
Right. And nothing else matters in that moment either. The whole day felt so weird because Andrew was always the person that would show up, not just show up, but show up first. So the fact that he did not show up to the walk with his parents and his family was already strange. And I do think Colton and I talk about this a lot. It's really strange too, because Colton will sleep in until 2 p.m. and that'll be the first time that he wakes up in the day. But him and I were on the phone because he was working that day. He is an interior designer. He was staging some houses, and it was actually near where Andrew just bought his condo. And so Colton wouldn't have been awake to hear the news either if something weird happened with work and he just so happened to be awake. So it's just I still remember it so vividly. Like, I lived in Colorado, so I was 12 hours away from all my besties, but I had just recently came into town for one of my coworkers and good friends' weddings, and he was my date to it. So we left St. Louis on a high. It was so much fun. He was actually coming to visit me in Colorado the next week. So him and I were talking the night before about all of the fun things we're going to do. He went to dinner with Natalie, Gabby, our whole entire friend group, to one of his very favorite places to drink wine and eat little appetizers. So it just felt like such a good time. And I woke up and I saw that text message, but there really isn't anything I could do if I'm 12 hours away from anybody. So I'm talking to Colton and he said, "Hey, Emma's calling me. Let me call you back," which is a very normal thing. Colton, Emma, and I, and Gabby and Natalie and I, we were on the phone all day long. So it just felt like, okay, cool. Not a big deal. So I made myself a coffee. I was getting ready to go to Garden of the Gods, and Emma had called me. And her first question, just like Natalie's first question to Gabby, was, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "No." "Why?" And she said, "Go sit down." So I sat down, and the first thing that she said to me was, "He's gone." And I said, "Well, where did he go? What happened?" Like, I don't
like he
understand
ran
what you're
away.
talking
Like,
about.
yeah, like he ran away. Like, whatever.
Right. I'm like,
Okay,
what do you mean? Where did he go?
What a
Okay.
vibe.
You know, he has lots of friends all over the country. Like, where did he hang out? Like, and you know, that's whenever she said he passed away. And my next question was, "Can we verify this information?" And she said, "It's been verified. I have to let you go." And so my next step was, oh my God, what is going on? So I knew I had to make some more phone calls to other folks to tell them later that day. But the next phone call I made was to my mom. And she didn't answer. And I called her again. She didn't answer because she was visiting some of my family in North Carolina. And I texted her, I said, this is very urgent. You need to call me. So I called my mom, called my dad, and then I called Gabby and Nat.
Literally.
And because I knew I need to come back to St. Louis, I need to figure out a flight. And I was not in a space to where I would be able to do that. And the one thing that I really admire about you guys was you guys immediately said, okay, we're finding you a flight. It doesn't matter. I'm like, I don't care how much it costs. I don't care what time it is. I don't care how long, if I have layovers, whatever that may be. I need to come back to St. Louis and I need to be there today. And so we found a flight, and that was that.
Yeah, like that. I remember that phone call so, like your phone call as well, so vividly, because by the time Natalie got to my house, like we were both not okay. We were bawling and like we gave each other hugs and stuff. Cause like, I mean, he was such a big part of our lives. And I mean, even like me, Nat, and our friend Tyler, like we were just kind of like his new adult friends, you know. It was only like a year or 2 years that we've really were like starting to really develop this like relationship with him, where we were talking to him almost every day. I mean, I know I always got dinner with him, things like that too. So losing him was a really big part. And then I just remember Nat going, Meg's calling. And I said, okay. So we walked outside in my parents' backyard, and we were chatting. And I just remember like sitting there just like, what is happening? Like, what is this even? And I was just like, God, like, can we talk a second? Like,
right. Because what's going on? This doesn't make any sorts of sense at all.
I was like, this was so left field because it was really sudden. And I know that you guys have been listening and you hear that the walk that we were on, that he was supposed to go to, was an epilepsy walk. Him and his sister both have epilepsy. So that was a very big part of his life too. And, you know, going to those things and, you know, trying to be with family was important from him. But just that phone call, and I was just like, okay. And I just went into mom mode to help you find a flight. And I was like, this is the flight you're going on. Bye. They're like, okay, you good? And you're like, you were just like, I guess I don't know what to think right now. I was like, you need to pack a bag. Yeah. Okay. Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? Okay, now go get on the flight. Text me when you're here. I'll pick you up.
Yeah. And it was so strange.
I don't even know how you made it to the airport in one piece, to be honest with you.
Well, the interesting part was I didn't have a car. My car had just broken down that week. And so I made some really incredible friendships my time in Colorado, and I was there for a year. And I knew that my neighbor, his name is Vincent, he went to the same church as I did. And I called him, and he was coming back from, I don't know, he went on a hike or something maybe. And I said, I need you to take me to the airport, because I didn't have a way to go to the airport. I didn't want to burden an Uber driver of me sitting there just crying. And so I was really, really gracious, and he was able to take me there. But I remember walking through the airport and almost having such a distinct amount of anger in my heart of, why is everybody happy? Why is everybody walking around just like nothing happened? Do they not understand? My world just crashed and burned in the matter of one phone call. And I called my dad. My dad and I were talking about it. And that was the longest travel day of my life. And, you know, the amount of hours that I actually spent traveling, not a ton, but
right. But it
felt like the longest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also remember that me, Nat, Colton, Emma, and a few of our other friends ended up at a friend's house, and we were just like all sitting there. And I think that's when my mom mode like kicked off, because I was like sitting there just like silent. And if you guys know me, which, you know, through Enhance, you guys can tell that I talk a little too much. But like I sat there just silent and just like zoning out hardcore. Like I would look at the TV and just zone out. Like I didn't even know what was on the TV. I couldn't tell you now. But like I was so like trying, like in my head, trying to figure out, okay, what are my emotions right now? What do I need to do to like calm myself? And like there was one girl that looked at me, she was like, are you okay? And I was like, and just shook my head. Like I was,
That is totally your coping mechanism. You're like, I'm fine. What do you mean?
I'm like,
That's
oh,
what
yeah.
you do.
Yeah, and I couldn't even be like, oh yeah, absolutely. No, I was like, and just
Yeah.
like neutral face. And then at one point I was just like really overwhelmed. So like I stepped outside because I was like sweating.
Yeah.
Because like anxiety. We love that. And then, you know, I kind of want to revisit Cammie really quick. Like now,
Yeah.
what was that experience for you? Because that was your first friend that died at a young age, and like kind of want to hear that side of it too.
Yeah. I can kind of relate to Meg in the sense that I was not around friends when this happened. So it's definitely hard. Like I feel for you, Meg. It's so hard to not be in the direct environment with the people that know the person that has passed, because all you want to do when they pass away is talk about them and relive the memories that you've had with them in the good times. And yeah, it was very difficult. When I was in college, like I'm very fortunate enough to have met a lot of friends that are not from where I'm from. And so that's super cool. I have a lot of traveling opportunities and things like that. And Cammie was not from St. Louis, and both of us didn't go to school in our hometown. So um and it I remember I was in nursing school at the time. This was during COVID, and the passing of Cammie and the passing of Andrew happened 2 years apart, which is crazy. Kind of too close for comfort. I wasn't finished grieving Cammie, and I still am not. And then the whole situation with Andrew happened, so it was just kind of like a double whammy at that time. But yeah, I remember I was in nursing school. Again, the exact place I was sitting in the bedroom of my parents' house at the time. I was studying for my pharmacology midterm exam, and I got a text message from I had my phone on silent because I was studying. And I got a text message from one of my friends and asking me if she could call me. I didn't see it. And then I got a phone call from Anna. Didn't pick it up the first time, called me again. I picked it up the second time, and she said, Nat, Cammie has passed away. And like in that moment, it was like it was a little different because when Andrew passed away, I had unfortunately gone through this experience before. So like it never gets better. Don't get me wrong, it never gets better.
Right.
It never does. But Cammie was literally one of my best friends. I saw her every single day. Literally every single day. She was my biggest cheerleader for nursing school. And in that moment, my body just like shut down. Like tunnel vision. I couldn't see anything else. And I remember screaming no in my room. My door was closed, and I just remember screaming no, no, no. And then my parents came up from upstairs or from downstairs, and I opened my door and just ran into their arms and said, Cammie passed away. And that was like just bawling my eyes out. It was like a movie. Like it was like a movie when you see like Cammie was one of my best friends. Like you love your best friend. It's like she's a sister, and like never once did that thought even cross my mind that my friend, who was 22 years old at the time, was going to pass away so suddenly. She had no health risks, like literally nothing. And it was just so sudden, and it shook everyone. It like I like didn't want to eat. I just wanted to curl up in a ball in my room. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I remember I couldn't even tell Gabby that she had passed away. Like I didn't call Gabby and tell her she passed away until like maybe 6 hours after I got the phone call, because I just like couldn't I couldn't say it. I couldn't say it because it didn't feel real.
Right.
It didn't feel real. And like I still, like I said, I still don't feel like I've fully been able to grieve her loss, and because she was from Texas. And so but at the time, wow, the irony of this, at the time she was living in Colorado. The
Oh my
irony of
gosh.
this.
Yeah, didn't even put that together.
So yeah, so yeah, and nope, like she was living with her cousin, or she wasn't living with her cousin. She was living at an apartment by herself. And the reason how we found out was because um she didn't show up to work that day. And her boss, that was not like her at all. That was not like her at all. And so her boss, called and tried to get a hold of her, couldn't get a hold of her. They called the police to do a wellness check on her, didn't answer the door. And so then, they found her and they started making the calls. And it was, yeah, it just like at that point, like I that's when I was like, I need to not take my life for granted, and I need to start reaching out to people, because I like really wasn't always the friend. Like I have tons of friends. We all have tons of friends. Like we are
Right.
very supported, and I love them all, and like we have tons of friends, but I'm not usually the one to reach out. I usually wait for others to reach out to me. And in that moment, I knew that I needed to change that and needed to tell people that I love them more, because you don't know. Like a situation like that took us all by surprise. She had no health risks, none, absolutely none. And just one day just passed away at 22 years old. Like, that is insane. That shouldn't happen to anyone. So, yeah. And we all were able to come together like a year after, again, because this was during COVID. So all of Kimmy's friends were able to come together and have like a little memorial for her back in our college town. Um, like, and since it was during COVID, like she didn't even get to walk down like the hill to graduate. It's like a whole. So losing a friend is hard. Losing a friend when you're far away is even worse.
And I think just like losing a friend when they're so young, it doesn't like death is hard regardless, but death is really hard when you're young, I think, because you don't think that that kind of stuff could ever happen to anybody. And so you're going through college, you're going through your 20s, and even for people that lose friends in high school and, things like that. Like you just don't think that that's ever going to happen. You never think that you're going to get that horrendous phone call to hear that kind of information, because that just doesn't feel real.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I still I don't know, like I said, my coping skills are very minimal when it comes to death. Because I just shut down. So I do tear up and stuff, but I just shut down. Like I don't, I'm like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? And then I have my private crying sesh later, because I don't like showing emotion. I couldn't show emotion. Like that's how I felt like the entire thing. Like I think the first time I blubbered, cried, other than in front of Natalie, was at Andrew's funeral and visitation. And even at the funeral, I was not a happy I was just mad. And it wasn't because of anything. I was just like I don't feel like he's here, and I hated feeling like I couldn't do something to fix it, because I'm a fixer.
Yeah.
And so I totally, and I can only imagine being at a distance and not being able to, be there quicker in a sense.
I will say, the emotional part of it too, I was really scared the first few days, because I think my brain was just in shock because I was not able to cry. I remember tearing up, but my brain just did not comprehend that that was actually happening and that was real life. And so I ended up, so two of our best friends, Kyle and Sarah, they were able to welcome me into their home and I could stay with them for a little bit while we were just trying to figure out what was going on with the funeral and the wake and all of that kind of stuff. And I remember locking myself in the guest bedroom and just trying to cry because I was concerned that there was something wrong with me because my brain just would not feel that emotion. It was almost like it just completely cut it off. And I watched like sad dog videos and military homecoming videos and things that normally would make me just blubber cry right off the bat. And I couldn't do it. And that was a really weird sense of emotion for me because I felt shut down. I didn't cry at the wake or the funeral or his burial. I would tear up, but I never actually was able to release that until I would say probably like 2 weeks later when my body actually let that go. And I was able to finally release those emotions. And now we're even 9 months out and I cry all the time about it. My body's able to release that, but it was just such a weird concept. Did you feel like that at all, Natalie, through your process with Cami or with Andrew?
I mean, like I said, I still don't feel like I've really processed both of them. I really don't feel like I have, and I don't feel like I ever will. But I will say with Hammy, I like cried and cried and cried and cried, and I still cry and cry and cry and cry. But like with Andrew, it was like I was still dealing with the shock of Cammy, that it was like I wasn't really able to process Andrew. Like I didn't process Cammy's, but I was starting to get there. And then Andrew's situation happened. So I really wasn't able to process Andrew's. So it kind of became like a conjoined grieving process, which like is good and bad. Like part of the grieving process is guilt, and I understand that completely. So every time I think of one of them, I think of the other, you know? And that like part of that makes me feel guilty because I'm like, I need to separate these two to grieve both of them separately, to honor them separately, right? But not necessarily. I think that, um both the situations were different, but at the end of the day, like both of them were very young souls that we lost at a young age, you know? So, and as I like have gotten older, especially in high school, I don't know if you've like mentioned this in the enhanced podcast like past episodes or not, Gab, but like in high school, Gabby and I took a class about death and dying, and like our final for that class was to make a funeral for ourselves, like to fully
Drama.
to fully make a funeral, like like we went to a Catholic school. So
That's some Catholic shit right there.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
right.
So we talked about like we literally had to make our own pamphlets. We had to make our own eulogy. We had to pick the pallbearers that were going to carry our casket down the aisle. Like
or if
traumatic.
how are we going to do it? Were we going to be a tree? Were we going to be, like ashes? Like what? No, literally, like I remember that class so vividly because I mean, it's traumatic to think about because some people are just, and I'm one of those people, like don't think about death in that way, especially as a young person. Like I feel like I don't think about it as often now. Like have I noticed that my parents like all of a sudden after my grandpa died and after Andrew died, I mean we had 7 people die last year that we were in their lives, so that was really hard. But have I noticed them being like, oh, we have a will now, oh, we have this now, like they're starting to like think about it more often. And then not saying that they're like super old, they're not like 80, 90, but you can definitely see how age really affects how you grieve, what you grieve, when you think about death, when you not think about death. And I remember explicitly in that class, I had our friend Jen, who's me and Nat's mutual friend, write my eulogy.
Mm.
And I was just like, I'm sure I can't even remember who I wrote. I know I wrote one for someone, but I don't remember who asked me. But it was just weird. Like, and I kind of like sit there and I'm like, shoot, are we manifesting how we're gonna die in this class? Because like I said, I died in a car accident, which is
Yeah,
like
that's
it's
scary.
it's
And
a
I don't
very
feel like
common
that's
way. Yeah.
not appropriate either to have someone prematurely have to go through that sort of process and that sort of grief that and trauma that comes along with that.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel appropriate at all.
Well, what I was trying, from this class, circle back. Let me just circle back here. From this class and like seeing this process and whatever, and literally we had to take a field trip to a funeral home.
Oh, I almost fainted. Oh yeah.
Correct.
They literally showed
Anyway.
us like how they prepare and everything. And like I literally saw, like, we got downstairs and I saw that. And if you are an eerie person and your stomach gets rough, like you might just want to skip 30 seconds of what I'm about to say. But they literally have the hook of where they like help pull people up to put them on the table. And I almost fainted. I literally almost passed out right there. I had to go back upstairs. I didn't even see the fridge, but we walked back. I know they walked back there, but like,
fridge.
yeah. So, but you have to think these are high school students. And I think the concept of like learning about grieving and learning about like the financial side is very helpful. Like that is one thing I really did take away from the class, especially when my grandfather died, because I was the one sitting there like, oh yeah, they're going to cut them like this and blah, blah, blah. Like I knew, and I couldn't look at them, like my grandma and I are sitting on the other side of the room. I'm looking at her. My grandpa is fully like dead, laying in the bed. We're waiting for them to come pick up the body kind of thing. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you really want to know about this? And she's like, yeah. And I sat there and I was like, well, da 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 da, and just started
So
ranting.
bad.
Right.
I mean,
that's
go
how
ahead.
what I was trying to say is that like with both of these situations, and I guess also like coming from a nurse perspective and a medical perspective, like that's how I kind of separate the emotional from it, is like looking at the scientific facts and looking at like, oh, like what kind of makeup are they using on this person? Like,
Oh my
oh,
goodness.
what kind of like, I wonder how much this costs. Like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, what's the scientific, like, what are the reasons? What stage of, like the death process are we in? Things like that. Like, so, and maybe I kind of let that overtake my emotional, you know, standpoint from it. And that's why I haven't really been able to process it, because I do tend to look more towards the science part of it. So I don't know, but I mean, and I don't think we ever really need to fully process what happened. We are very young and we shouldn't have to go through this. Shouldn't have to go through it more than once. And like, yeah, it's like it helps that there is a sense of community, but like also it kind of stems from like us as our generation have been through so much already that it's like, what more can you shoot us down with? Right.
Right.
And if it's just like outside or even in our personal lives like these, like what else? What else? What else? So I feel like that kind of the grieving process is ongoing for sure. Yeah, I still have not processed all of it, and I don't think I ever will. So
I'm
it
really
doesn't seem real. It still doesn't seem real. Either one.
No.
Yeah.
I know I've called you multiple times, Nat, and not out of a sense of like you're the subject matter expert on this, but you've gone through it. And I know I've called you and just said, I'm really feeling this way right now. Is this normal? Because the hard thing about grief is it's not linear. It's really, you could go from bargaining to being mad to being guilty to feeling like you're accepting it, but then also being in denial. And it's really just kind of a mosh podge of different emotions. And I know that for a big period of time, I was in the denial, but I was also in the bargaining phase. And I know like faith is like something really apparent in all of our lives and stuff. And so I was able to say, okay, yeah, if I pray enough, or if I really think about a situation enough, he could come back. Like he's just on an extended vacation. And our friend Emma has said, you know, it sounds like, or it feels like he's just on vacation and we're waiting for him to walk in through the door. And so I've been able to really leverage your, I guess, experience to say, is this something that's normal? Am I feeling crazy? Am I going crazy? And I really appreciate you that you're there for all of us, but I also want you to know that we're there for you too. Because like you said, you know, it's not, no one should ever have to go through it once, but no one should definitely have to go through it twice.
Yeah, that's 100%. And then another thing I want us to kind of dive into within this is like, where are you at now with that? You know, like where are you in the sense, like what is your kind of like daily thought? Like for me, I like when we get together as a friend group, I'm like, oh my God, someone's missing. Like I feel like a sense of emptiness. I mean, and then like I said, like I'm a very private person when it comes to like crying and showing my emotions. Like I'm comfortable around my friends now because we've gone through all of this stuff. Like I feel like it's gonna sound kind of shitty when I said it, but you trauma bond. You build that bond with your friends. And like I remember the night that we found out, like we all ended up at, you know, Kyle and Sarah's house. And we were all just like sitting there silently, like staring. All of us. Like what are we gonna do? I know for me also though, like there's days I'm like, oh, so good, living my best life. The next day I'm like sobbing. Like we have another roommate that's my cousin and I love her to death. And she moved a picture of him that we had up, and it was innocent. Like she wasn't doing anything on purpose or anything like that, but because I'm so not over it, I like flipped out. I was like, I'm sorry, I have to put it back. Like I'm sobbing like uncontrollably, and I just like sat there afterwards, and I felt bad because like I don't want her to feel like it was her fault in any sense, because it wasn't. But like I'm still so like emotionally caught up that like it was a big deal for me. So like I have like outspurts like that. Obviously, like in this video today, like I'm wearing light purple for epilepsy awareness. And I'm also wearing pineapple earrings. You can't really see them, but that was like his favorite little like shape, you know, like people like certain things. So like that's how I kind of like cope with it and like try to understand what's happening without being like scary monster. But how do you guys, you know, deal with it? How do you guys memorialize them? How do you guys react to things in current time?
I would say it's very different, kind of depending upon the day. Like you said, you know, some days I feel a little bit better about it. And then there's days where, just like how Maria kind of moved, you know, a picture and it triggered something, it's the same kind of reaction. I'm wearing like a necklace that him Colton and Emma also got me whenever I moved. And I try to just think about the good times, but to be honest with you, I still don't feel like I'm even close to where I should be.
Same.
Moving back home was huge for me. My lease was up in March, and the second it happened, immediately I knew I needed to be around people because everything changed in an instant. And so moving back home, really being around not just my wonderful friends, but also my family to talk about it. I am a very open person when it comes to emotion. So I'll cry. I cry at work. I cry at home. I cry in the car. Even if I'm just friends with someone for a little bit, you've probably seen me cry. So with that, I just continue that conversation and that narrative, but it is weird. And we're still we're not even past the 1 year mark yet. We just hit 9 months. So it's one of those things where we're still going through the year of first. My birthday's in 8 days. And this is the first time that I haven't wanted to do my birthday. I don't really care because it just feels like a piece is missing. So just trying to talk about it as much as I can and letting myself have those moments where I need to break down or I need to just take some time for myself, I think has really helped me through the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still feel like I'm not over it. As for Andrew, I completely agree with Gabby what you said. Like you can feel his presence in our friend group. Yeah, it feels like something's missing. It absolutely feels like something's missing. And there are times when we're like doing things and all of us are like, Andrew would have loved this.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Andrew would have arrived. Dude, we went to this like funny story. We went to the Shrek rave. Okay, first time we went to
he
rave,
would have
but
thrived.
He
Oh,
would have
yeah.
been on the stage for sure with Gabby.
Oh, we went to a Shrek rave and we all dressed up in costume and we were all living our lives and doing our thing. Oh my gosh, the whole time we were like, Andrew would have absolutely died during this whole thing. Absolutely died. And you know what? He would have been Lord Farquaad, and you know what? He would have walked on his knees the whole time.
He would have slayed it. Oh my God.
For sure.
Correct. So like it's like, but we do other things like small things too, like going out to dinner or like getting wine Wednesdays, like things like that. Like we see him in everything that we do, which like I think that's how we cope as a group, is like we're still honoring him in all the things that we do, and we like, because we're all friends for a reason, like we all have connections, we all like the same things, so like why would we stop doing the things that we like to do even though he's not here, so just continuing that on and like seeing him and everything, and it does feel like somebody's missing, but like having those like little situations is definitely helpful. And then like as for Cammie, like obviously when I see my friends from college, like yeah, that brings up a set. Like we talk about the memories, we look at the pictures. Like today I'm wearing one of Cammie. Okay, so there's a series of pictures that Cammie and I took that are our favorite, and I'm wearing the outfit that I wore in those pictures. I don't know if I'll send Gabby the pictures if she can like flash them or whatever, but but this is the outfit, right? But this is the runway outfit. Ooh, ooh. We took those pictures and they're our favorite, and actually like, this makes my heart, every time it just makes my heart hurt a little bit. But like the pictures that we took like in this outfit, and when like the pictures that we took, this was Cammie's last Instagram profile picture, was a picture of the two of us in this, and me in this outfit. And so every time I wear this outfit, I think of her, and I love it so much. And I always have such a good time when I wear this outfit because I know that she's with me, and I know that she like, we're gonna have a good night, girl. We're gonna have a good night if we're wearing this outfit. So because we had a good night when we took those pictures. And one of the big things that so during this whole, like the whole process with Cammie and stuff, I was fortunate enough when Cammie was alive to be able to visit her childhood home in Texas. And I was able to meet like her whole family, and like out of all of our friends from college, like I was it just happened to be like I was the only one that was able to do this, so I was able to have that connection with her family, and I like, it is such an honor to be able to have that connection. And because of that, I was like the mediator between the friend groups and the family, which I every time I think about it, like it like truly is an honor. I can't like, how I was put in this position, I don't know, but like I wouldn't trade it for the world. And like being that point of contact. And like, I still talk to her family, like literally before we started recording this podcast, I texted her sister and said, hey, I'm filming a podcast about Cammy today. And she texted me and said, like, thank you so much for continuing to honor her and like being a part of like continuing her legacy and talking about her, because like she loved you and you loved her, and like all like you were best friends. And so like and one of the big things that that Cammy loved and that they continued on throughout the whole process was Cammy loved candles. Loved candles. Literally
so cute.
every time I went to her apartment, there were like 4 candles on. Like I really thought that her apartment was gonna burn down. Poor girl. Oh, anyway, so one of the biggest like big things they talked about was like shining her a light, and she was a light to the world and things like that. And so next to me I have this little candle holder and a little teacup candle. It's a little teacup candle and a little holder. You can't really read what it says, but I'll read it to you. It says, the light from this candle shines in loving memory of Cammy. And this was from her memorial service that we had at when we went back to our college town. And like only a couple people got it, and it really was like an honor to get it and like have that memory of her and with her. And yeah, we keep shining her light. So yeah,
I love that.
really
I think like
love that.
one thing I really love is that we all have like little things that we do, and it's not all the same, right? And I think that's one thing that like just shows that we're all on like a different journey of this grieving process, you know. We all have Andrew's cologne, and
I'm wearing it. I'm wearing it.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
And so like special times where I need like almost like a hug from him, I will wear it. Like I had like a strategy meeting at work and I was a little nervous, and I was just kind of presenting on my accomplishments from the year, and I just wanted a little bit of extra like support. And so I put it on, and like for today I put it on. For my birthday I'll probably put it on, things like that. And it doesn't make it better, but it makes it just feel like he's giving you a hug, because you can smell his cologne right on your, you know, your chest. And I think I'm so happy that our friends continue to talk about him constantly, like he's still around, because it's not a taboo topic in our friend group. It's not taboo for any of us to reach out and say like, hey, I'm having a bad day. Like, can we talk? And just allowing that conversation and that narrative to just live through us. And I think that's the same thing that you're doing with Nat with Cammy, like having that conversation and reaching out to her family and having the candle and all of that kind of stuff. So now if you go to like Bath and Body Works, you're going to see a candle and think of Cammy immediately. And I just love that a lot.
Yeah. And I know with Andrew, there's 2 things that like we were super like just like that was our thing. So like he's a big theater guy. I'm a big theater girl. And so there are several songs like I can't get through without crying, because that's like I'm like, oh, he's with me, you know, like he's with me on this song. And I guess 3 things, because the second thing is that he was really big on mental health. He, you know, was working in schools, working with kids and doing therapy and work with them. And I worked in a crisis line for 2 years, and we had that mental health bond. I graduated a psych degree. And I think we were kind of the parents of our friend group. So I feel like I lost a husband. Like that's how I kind of feel about it. Because like we would sit there and be like, okay, like this is what we're going to plan this together. We're going to do this together. And so we had that like mental health, like love and like husband wife kind of relationship. But we were also Virgos, and just letting you guys know, this is coming out in the 3rd week of September. So we will be, because that's when his birthday was in September. My birthday's in September. And so this is when this episode is going to be coming out, which I'm so excited about. And I'm really gracious that you guys came, and I understand it's a very vulnerable topic, and I really appreciate that y'all decided to be able to share your stories. And I know there's so many people out there that don't get to talk about their feelings, and especially as young adults, like we're not really, we love mental health, but we're still in that stuck part, especially in grieving. And it's just such a blessing that you guys were able to come and be a little vulnerable with us today. And so I just really, really, really appreciate you. And obviously this is in honor of both Cammie and Andrew. We love them so much, and they're always in our hearts and around us. And that's what's most important.
And talk about your feelings.
Yes,
Talk
it's
about your
important.
feelings.
I'm learning that in therapy.
Love
Talk about your
yourself.
feelings.
Respect
And we love
yourself.
therapy. Everybody go to therapy.
Oh my gosh. Well, before we close out, I know that y'all would like to show and share your social media. So if you guys want to go ahead, Natalie was on a separate video, so hers is on a nursing episode, but would you go ahead and remind us, Nat, of what yours is while you pat your face?
Sure. My Instagram and my TikTok is Natalie Opich. My last name Opich. I'm the only one with that last name in the world for the most part. So you can look it up. You're gonna find me. If you can find my old YouTube account, you can get Venmo'd $1. I'm not telling you
I
the name
love
of
that.
that.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. Everyone go look for Natalie Opich's YouTube.
I may have hidden that account, but I did have an influencer. I'm still in my influencer stage, so we're getting
the era of the influencers.
the era.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, and Megan, what are yours?
So my Instagram's a little hard, so I'm going to spell it out. So my Instagram is technically Megan Huffman. So it's MEEGANHUFFMANN. Because Megan Huffman was taken.
Cute.
TikTok is just at Megan_Huffman.
Cool.
So feel free to give me a little follow.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And again, y'all, seriously, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all every single day. And even to our listeners, thank you guys so much for listening. And if you would like to be a guest on the episode, on any of the episodes and any topic, and you wanted to reach out, check us out on our website. And we would be more than happy to connect with you and try to talk things out. So live, laugh, love.
Live, love, love.
And love your friends.
Talk
about your feelings. Love yourself,
Right.
respect yourself.
And give me one margarita. Give me 2 margarita.
Give me 3 margaritas.
Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you. Love you.
Thank you so much for listening to Enhanced Podcast. I am Sam, one of your hosts.
And I'm your other host, Gabby Sabat.
If you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SamDifYouDo.
You can find me on TikTok at GabbyS80 and on Instagram at GSABAT97.
And if you want to follow the podcast, you can find us on Instagram and on Facebook at enhanced.productions.publishing.
And check us out on our website at enhanced.productions.
Enhance your peace
Your joy.
and your existence.